Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Thank you for joining me for this video. And the Cincinnati Bengals have claimed linebacker Joe Bachie off of waivers. And so Bachie, he was cut by the Eagles Tuesday. And so talk about a quick turnaround to find employment again, this time with the Bengals. And a little bit about Bachie. He went undrafted out of Michigan State in 2020. And I'll touch a little bit in a little bit about his career at Michigan State, as it was a pretty good career. But he had signed with the Saints as a free agent, and he was cut ahead of Week 1 and returned to the practice squad until he was signed by the Eagles in December. He ended up playing 4 games for the Eagles and was credited with 2 tackles while playing 18 defensive snaps and 56 special team snaps. And so he will join a crew that consists of Akeem Davis-Gather, Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, Jordan Evans, and Kedra Jones on a team's linebacker depth chart. Now, for the Bengals, in terms of last year where they were defensively, they were right around the middle of the pack. I guess you could say just about average defensively. It didn't help that the offense was towards the bottom in the league. But I mean, obviously, they were able to pick up Joe Burrow with the first pick, and Joe Burrow, he was very promising in terms of how he looked on the field. He just looks like he's going to definitely continue the mode of what Cincinnati was accustomed to when they had a guy like Carson Palmer and stuff. Obviously, they'd like to have a little bit more success, but the likes of him, obviously Andy Dalton when he was with the Bengals as well. So Joe Burrow certainly seems like he is that guy for them, moving forward, obviously. And you bring back, Joe Mixon, and then hopefully he'll be able to stay healthy, and we'll see what he looks like for a full season. Young receiving core. Obviously, no more AJ Green. So a lot of changes on the offense. So that's some positive things for Bengal fans to look forward to. So back to Joe Bachie and his time at Michigan State. And so before I get to his Michigan State day, I'll highlight his days, like coming out of high school. Actually, he was a 3-star when they recruited him out of Ohio. And so you know how Michigan State, they love stealing players from Ohio, whatever they can. So 3-star sounds about right, since Ohio State typically gets a lot of 5-stars, some 4-stars, occasionally 3-stars. But Michigan State, if you're going to steal out of Ohio, they're probably going to be a 3 or 2-star. And so definitely, this was a good pickup on their end, though, because he really did fit what Michigan State was about, especially around the time period in which he was there. But he ranked among the nation's top inside linebackers by Rivals.com. He was actually number 27, and listed among the country's top outside linebackers by Scout.com at 69, and rated among Ohio's top seniors by Rivals.com, and was named the Associated Press Division I All-Ohio First Team in 2015. He was a 3-year starter and at his high school, and led his high school, which is called the Titans, in tackles with 89 tackles and 14.5 tackles for a loss, 9 quarterback hurries, and rushing touchdowns with 14 as a senior. Recorded 89 tackles, 60 of which were solo, 29 assists in 2015. Also credited with 3 fumble recoveries and 2 forced fumbles. And so that just, to highlight some of the accolades he had throughout his time. And so as I dig a little deeper here, because he seems like he got into the end zone quite a bit as well, and that boded well for him. He also caught some. Let's see. So if I fast forward a little here, and so he actually had a game in which he had 13 catches for 304 yards, averaging 23.4 yards a catch and 3 touchdowns during his high school time. And so he definitely showed that he had some hands as well. He had a game where he made 17 tackles as well. And so I'm just highlighting some of the accolades in which he was able to accomplish at the high school level. Obviously, we're going to focus more so on his collegiate stats here. But yeah, that was pretty fantastic. As a senior, 606 all-purpose yards and 17 touchdowns. This guy had a nose for the end zone, and he had a nose for the football in general. Whether we're talking catching or tackling, this guy definitely was making plays. But it gets better. In 2016, as a freshman at Michigan State, he saw action in the final 6 games of the season, earned his first letter, played more than 65 snaps at linebacker, and also played on special teams. He posted 5 tackles, including a half tackle for a loss versus Rutgers, and made the Spartans debate at Maryland coming off the bench in the first quarter of Raleigh Bullock was after he was disqualified for targeting. And so that's when he made his debut there. And then fast forward to his sophomore year in 2017, he was voted team MVP, becoming the first Spartan sophomore to win the award since Drew Stanton in 2004. That's going back. Drew Stanton. Interesting. Earned third team All Big Ten by both the coaches and the media. Named second team All Big Ten by Pro Football Focus. And Phil Steele ranked seventh in the Big Ten and tied for 76 in the FBS in total tackles, in which he had 100, becoming the first Spartan sophomore to record 100 tackles in a single season since Greg Jones, did it in 2008, and he had 127. And so that just highlights, obviously, for him to win MVP as a sophomore, you go from just coming in 6 games, you came in due to someone being, getting a targeting call and getting tossed out the game. And then the following year, you're basically already showing that you're, the heart and soul of the defense. Talk about true impact. That just goes to show this guy's a baller. And then 2018 season as a junior, he earned the first team All Big Ten honors by his coaches, ESPN.com, and Phil Steele, as well as second team honors by the media. AP named recipient of the MSU Downtown Coaches Club Award for Most Outstanding Defensive Player. Voted one of 3 captains, starting all 13 games at middle linebacker, led team in tackles for second year in a row with a career high 102 stops. Ranked 9th in the Big Ten with 102 tackles and 12th in tackles per game, averaging 7.85 per game. So basically 8 tackles a game, and topped the defense with 244 production points during the regular season. And led and shared the team lead in tackles in first 3 games of the season before not having top tackling honors in CMU, NU, and Penn State games as offenses deterred from the middle of the Spartan defense. So according to this, teams basically started game planning like, okay, let's just not go towards the middle. Let's just avoid this guy. And so that's the kind of impact that he was having. And he still was able to post 10 tackles versus Michigan. And so, yeah, he definitely was out there balling. To get over 100 tackles 2 times at the collegiate level, that just means you're a machine at this point. And so as a senior in 2019, he earned third team All Big Ten media and honorable mention in All Big Ten for the coaches and Pro Football Focus accolades. Ranked 5th on the team with 71 tackles in 8 games. All starts at middle linebacker. Also had 8.5 tackles for a loss, 3.5 sacks, 4 pass breakups, and 1 interception. Earned first team midseason All-American honors by Rivals.com. Named second team midseason All-American by Associated Press, The Athletic, and Alton Smith. Named semifinalist for Butkus Award and quarterfinalist for the Lot Impact Trophy. Posted 6 stops against Penn State, had 8 tackles, including 1 yard loss at Wisconsin. Registered a season high 3 tackles for a loss, and in which he had, which was totaling 19 yards, and a career high 2 sacks, including an 18-yard sack on the 3rd play from scrimmage, as part of 11 tackles at Ohio State, tallying 26 production points that led the defense, and posted 7 stops with 1 tackle for a loss against Indiana, notching 16 production points. Named the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year and Lot Impact Trophy National Co-Player of the Week for performances at Northwestern, including a career-high 14 tackles to lead the Spartans defense, adding 1 interception, 1 sack, and 2 tackle for losses, 2 pass breakups, and 1 quarterback hurry. Basically, the guy was showing that he was a dominant force, extremely dominant. And so throughout his career, he finished ranked 20th in Michigan State history with 27.5 tackles for a loss, and 22nd with 285 tackles, also tied for 6th in Spartan record book with 5 forced fumbles. In addition, recorded 8 sacks, 5 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles in his career. Voted team captain for a 2nd straight season in 2019, joining senior teammate Brian Lurk as just the 5th and 6th players under Coach Mike D'Antoni to be named captain twice. Those other players were Kirk Cousins and Greg Jones, and Max Bullock and can't pronounce that one, Calhoun, and three-time member of the team's Eagles leadership council, and 12 career games with double-digit tackles. 12 games with double-digit tackles. Four-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week honoree, graduated with a degree in interdisciplinary studies and social science in December of 2019. And so all of this, and then leading up to the draft, there was just so much hype, for him, especially towards that last year. I mean, he obviously did a lot, but he was actually suspended towards the end of his senior season. I believe he ended up missing the last 5 games. And when he was talking about it, during the time where you have your scouting combine in front of the coaches, obviously that's a big area that they're going to want to know about. He was front and center, as he was the heart and soul of Michigan State's, defense under Mark D'Antoni's, regime. And so to go from being on top of the world, thinking like, you're competing, try to get a good bowl game, and then all of a sudden, without notice, you're gone. And so he explained the suspension, in which what led to his suspension. 5 days after the Spartans played their, 8th game of the season. He says that it was a pre-workout over the counter. He said it was just tainted a little bit, in his words. You can never really trust what's in those over-the-counter things. He said he took one time for just an extra lift on a Tuesday, tested 6 days later, and he failed, and he thought he was going to be perfectly clean. He had taken the product in the past when it was certified, and he had passed 5 to 6 NCAA Big Ten drug tests. So it was heartbreaking. And so obviously he was very emotional, telling his family, particularly his dad and all of them, obviously his teammates, and just, realizing that your career is coming to an end. So that was obviously hard for him to deal with. And I'm sure that he's, learned from that. Obviously it was a mistake. It happens to many players. And so, but certainly from a talent perspective, Joe has all the potential in the world. And just to recap, what the scouting report was on him coming out of Michigan State. Some of the positives is that, and I'll just skim through this one quickly, is that he has the stopping power in the hole when coming downhill with NFL mass and size for a true Mike linebacker, willing to come down hard into bubbles and squeeze, spill within context to help other interior defenders, brings good power as a blitzer. Now, some of the cons that they talked about was his lack of athletic ability in coverage, zone awareness is lacking, they said, and spot drops without acknowledgement of route distribution and quarterback vision set points, and regularly allows for throwing windows. But that being said, though, obviously, this is what practice is for. This is what you continue to work on. With good coaching, he clearly showed that he can excel, at that Mike linebacker spot. And so this is definitely a great prospect to have, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to work out for the Bengals. So certainly someone that could, if he ends up making a roster and moving forward, who knows? Maybe one day he might turn out to actually contribute to the team, and we'll be able to see what he showcased at Michigan State with given this opportunity. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining me for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, as more news continues to drop, you can be sure to find it here. So thanks again for watching, and see you guys next time.